This is the Agorist Next podcast. I'm Brandon. I've got my great co-host Dag with me. How you doing, Dag?
I'm doing excellent, man. Just winding down another long day of doing Agorist shit. Having a nice can of wine.
Nice can of wine. I've got
Yeah, it sounds weird to say.
I've got an Angry Orchard today, so I thought some hard cider would be nice for once. But
So, before we get into it tonight, give our usual shout out to our sponsor, Presearch. You can find them on our site, agoristnexus.com/search. We might get a little affiliate kickback if you do that. Otherwise, you can check them out at presearch.org. Really spectacular search engine, guys. They don't spy on you. There's no censorship. You earn crypto just by using it, which is actually really cool. And the value of the crypto is actually pretty nice. So it's kind of like getting paid to use their product in search, whereas Google and them get paid for you to use their stuff. So it's really nice to be able to turn that around and make a little bit on your end.
Yeah, and I really love how seamless their search engine is. You can easily switch between different search engines. It makes it really nice. Like if like DuckDuckGo doesn't have what I'm looking for, then something else will for sure. So yeah, and then their search engine's cool too for sure.
I really
keyword
like that
stake
it has the coin.
Yeah.
I really like that it has the coin, like CoinGecko and stuff like that as a search option for it, because it's just so easy to just check your prices and all that on your different cryptos. So that's really cool. I've really been enjoying that.
Yeah, me too. Well, with that said,
speaking of cryptos,
yeah, I wanted to do a Bitcoin Cash episode. I know, shitcoin, but just bear with me, guys. And
BCH maximalist episode.
No maximalism here. Like I like everything. So almost everything, not XRP. But anyways, yeah, I would say if you don't like Bitcoin Cash, that's fine. But try to keep an open mind, right? We were all statist once, and we all thought that anarchy could never work, and that those were those guys who just threw Molotov cocktails through windows and shit. So yeah, just try to keep an open mind and hear me out. And if you want to give me the benefit of the doubt too, that would be great. Maybe some donuts. I'll take a double cheese too. So
when we think about cheeseburgers, we're not necessarily talking trash about other coins or anything here. We're just highlighting some features and everything. So
yeah. So
like Brandon said, don't get upset.
Yeah. So the whole point of this episode is not to bash other coins. I don't even want to mention many other coins. I just really want to focus on what Bitcoin Cash brings. And I think the reason why I love Bitcoin Cash so much is because it is my I think it is my favorite coin, and that is because, and I know you're gonna say, oh, Roger Ver told you to say that, but it's true. It's true. In my opinion, Bitcoin Cash today, and this could change tomorrow. And tomorrow I could hate Bitcoin Cash, but because the crypto landscape changes so quickly, right? Like Ethereum had low fees a couple months ago, and I loved Ethereum, and I still love Ethereum. But right now, I think what was the average transaction fee, Dag?
For Ethereum, when I looked it up this afternoon, was $23.18, which is significant.
Yeah, I love Ethereum, but if there's something that I don't like, I'm going to call it out. 23.18, that's absurd for transaction fee. And
yeah, I spent 18 last night on a BTC transaction, which got to move it, you got to move it, but it still kind of stings. You know what I mean? It's not inexpensive. So
it is costly. So, and we do want to try to save as much wealth as possible. But I think, and I didn't get to this before, but the reason why I love Bitcoin Cash so much is because today it is the most economic. If there's one coin that brings the most economic freedom to the world, it is Bitcoin Cash. And that's because it is very easily transferable, extremely low fee, still a tenth of a penny. It's got so many features, tokens. They're going to be doing smart contracts. You've got mixers. You can't do mixers on BTC right now because a mixer would cost you, quite a bit. So,
and a mixer for them. I really feel like to start this, maybe we should do like a 5-minute like overview of some of this in case we have some listeners who aren't super familiar with what we're talking about as far as like like BCH and maybe like the original fork and what was it like 17. Do you think that'd be a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get sure. Yeah, we can do that, but I don't want to get too.
Well, I know because we can spend like an hour on that, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that and I mean, there's still like a sour taste in some people's mouth from that split, and like I'm really not trying to like have a debate about like BTC versus Bitcoin Cash. Like that debate is just, I'm not trying to do that. I just want to focus on Bitcoin Cash. But to go,
how about you could be like 20 seconds to talk about it from somebody who's new at this. Just because I do know we have some listeners who aren't up to speed on this. So how about we just say this? How about we say, Bitcoin Cash basically came into being because there was issues with the transaction fees on regular BTC. So they shuffled some stuff around as far as technical stuff aside, some block sizes and things like that allowed them to transfer more data in a block, making transaction costs less. And now we have BCH.
Yeah, and
is that good? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's the BCH side of it.
Yes.
So
okay, great.
Bitcoin Cash wanted to solve the transaction fees by just raising the block limit.
Yeah.
And
so that's all. I think that's sufficient.
Yeah, absolutely. And BTC wanted to add another layer, which is called Lightning Network. But yeah, so with that aside, I mean, I think the fees on Lightning Network are still like 10 cents or something. So, and I know people say that's low, but I mean, I want the most economic freedom for the world. And like, people in Africa, I mean, 10 cents can go a long way for them. So you do that a couple of times for them, and it's not something that they can use to where like, you have a fee like with Bitcoin Cash, 1/10 of a penny. I think that's something that they can use in their everyday lives. So that's really my main argument is like, I'm not even trying to, I don't want to say argument because I'm not trying to argue, but I just want as many people to be able to use it as possible. The more users you have, I mean, naturally you're going to see more merchants and they're going to see more demand for the coin. So I mean, eventually the price should go up. But yeah, so
where do we start?
Yeah, so where do we start? What do you want to start with, Dag?
Well, you just mentioned like a usability in merchants and stuff like that, and that I feel for me, and of course I'm generally a little new to this. I'm not much in the way of investing. When I'm using crypto, I'm using it to use it, and I definitely have been liking Bitcoin Cash. It is usable all over the place. You know what I mean? It is one of the more common ones. So I really like that. So why don't we talk about merchant services, because obviously that is really important. I guess we should say, you mentioned like people in Africa and bringing economic freedom to all sorts of people and stuff. So having it be available to use, by everyone is very important. It's not just,
yeah, man,
maybe not just people who have access to a computer all the time or whatever. So
yeah, I mean,
man, riff on that.
Well, you don't need to run your own node, which I like. I mean, people all around the world, especially in poorer countries, aren't going to be able to do that. And it's super, the transactions are, super affordable. I think, with that, it's like, I love humanity and I want everybody to be able to use it. And I want everybody to be able to live as free as possible. And, that's really like my main drive for Bitcoin Cash. And, Bitcoin Cash does have the most brick and mortar locations, the most brick and mortar locations, physical locations around the world. They do have the most merchant adoption. So
really, even more the BTC, I guess like a lot of like merchants and stuff might have a hard time with like BTC because of the transaction cost, huh? So I guess what would we do? Assume they'd probably be like BCH and maybe like Dash or something are probably the most common.
I don't want to say Dash because I mean I know that they've got some merchant adoption in Venezuela, but so does Bitcoin Cash.
Okay, I know up in the like New England and stuff, they have a lot of merchant adoption up there and stuff as well. They also share low transaction fees.
Oh right, like in New Hampshire and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, Free State Project kind of stuff.
Yeah. So Bitcoin Cash is number one in Japan today. Bitcoin Cash is number one in Australia. They are very used in Venezuela, along with Dash. I'm not saying Dash is not used in Venezuela. Sure. I think they're number one in. I think they're. Don't quote me on this, but I think they're number one in Thailand, and then lots of places in Europe. Bitcoin Cash is number one in terms of. Remember, this is in terms of like physical merchant locations. And well, I mean, Australia, they're the number one used. Bitcoin Cash is the number one used cryptocurrency in Australia. Like if you look at every Bitcoin Cash transaction, I think Hayden Otto had like a chart on it because he's from Australia. So like he looks into that stuff. But anyways, my main thing is like it is, in terms of brick and mortar locations, it has the most. And that brings me to another point. Economically, and I know I'm going to bring this up again, but I wrote an article on Agorist Nexus called "The Properties of Money and Cryptocurrency." The most important property of money is medium of exchange. So if you have the most physical locations that accept it, you're most likely to be one of the number one. In my opinion, they're going to be number one in terms of medium of exchange. And that is because they are the cheapest. The most people are going to be able to use it, even in poor countries. You don't have to run nodes. You don't have to do anything. All their wallets and apps are super easy. A lot of people accept it. Almost every website, if a website's taking crypto, it's like Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and like something else, like Coin or Dash or something. Like those are the ones. So yeah, it sounded like you wanted to say something. I'm really good at cutting Dag off, so
it's all good, man.
I'm good at that.
I was basically just gonna say that, yeah, man. When you're talking about medium of exchange, transaction fees really play a lot into that because that's it's exchangeability or usability. If you were using something like, let's go to like an old school something like butter. You know what I mean? Easily divisible, et cetera, et cetera. But let's say every time you sliced a chunk off of your block of butter, a quarter pound, I don't know, melted away or vanished. You wouldn't want to make many, purchases. So it's just same kind of thing. When you lose a big portion of it, making purchases, it makes it makes it easier, more usable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
smaller,
especially if you're like, in one of these poor countries, and I really feel for people who are born and have to live in those countries. But regardless of what side you're on, the high transaction fees have affected Bitcoin. We see that because Steam, the gaming platform, used to accept Bitcoin. They don't, and they even said we can no longer accept it because of the high transaction fees. Same with Microsoft used to accept it. I think Newegg used to accept it, and they said it was because of the fees. And that's what these companies are saying. Like, I'm not putting words in their mouth. Like, I'm not speculating. Like, that's what these companies said. And so high transaction fees make it so that your currency loses traction as a medium of exchange, and a medium of exchange is the most important property of money. So
yeah, I'm currently I'll tell the audience about it here in another episode or two when it's ready to launch. But I'm currently working on a website and I'm accepting crypto, and I'm actually considering not accepting BTC right now, just because just like what I have to say, send an extra $20 just to make sure transaction fees are covered or whatever, it's like, that's just silly. I shouldn't have to worry about that. I shouldn't have to have a disclaimer for my customers about anything like that. You know what I mean? It should just be like, pay for it and it should be easy and quick. So just to back up what you were saying there.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's another thing too, is that like with Bitcoin, you don't know. and this is coming from people from business people, right? Like I've had 2 companies in the past. I think Dag's got a couple companies, right? So, I mean, and on some of the stuff that we sell and have sold, the margins are kind of small. So it's like, you take away my profit and make me lose money if the transaction fees are really high. So it's like, I don't know if I can use this thing. And then there's that aspect where it's like, okay, you don't know, right? Like, did we know a couple weeks ago that that yesterday or today of all days would be the day that Bitcoin was $18 a transaction fee? No, so there's no telling how much the fee's going to be, and there's no telling how long the transaction fee is going to take, or the
right. And I don't feel right asking my customer to pay that fee. Like they shouldn't have to worry about that. I don't say, oh, you're buying a $30 item for me. I don't want it to cost them $50. That's not what I want as a merchant either.
Yeah, you don't want to pass on cost and stuff. And
right. I mean, obviously we do to some extent, but when we have an option, why would we?
Well, and the thing too is like, people say, well, use a certain Lightning wallet, and your fees will only be like 10 or 20 cents, right? If you use a certain Lightning wallet. But it's like, okay, well, if I take it off Lightning Network and I go to an exchange, then I'm going to get hit with the fees. So, and then if I do need to change it out for fiat, or they're like, well, just keep it in Bitcoin. And it's like, well, there are going to be times where merchants do need fiat. There are going to be times where merchants do need to trade out for another cryptocurrency. And, a big reason for this is the fees, or the thing too is that if the fees were low a couple of years ago and they weren't high and they just raised the block size, everybody would be taking Bitcoin right now, and we wouldn't have to be worrying about changing it out and doing all this stuff and having certain wallets that help us with channels or whatever. So, but yeah, we wouldn't have to change it out as much if all these companies were accepting Bitcoin like they used to. So,
well, there's, if we do get to something a little more, standardized, a little more universally accepted, which, I think will flesh out in time. To be honest, the stage we're in now, where this is still kind of new, right? It's like, I kind of like the idea that there's 6,000 competing cryptocurrencies, and obviously the vast majority of them are probably not worth, messing with. But like, just, I like that idea because it's like, it's kind of like, it's kind of like the beauty of the market happening, right? Like there's different uses for different ones. There's different pros and cons to different ones. And it's like, ideally, in a good market scenario, the best ones rise to the top, right? And then we get the few that are, the most used or most universal. When you might even end up, I imagine that we might end up with maybe a few, a couple, half a dozen, that for different purposes or different parts of the world or whatever, that people might end up using, a little more regularly. But who knows? I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just guessing. And some of that's just because it seems fun to me. But yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with there being different ones for, different coins competing with each other, or just simply to serve different purposes, but I think that ultimately the best ones will rise to the top, the ones that are easiest to use, the ones that work the best for people, and all that. And I do think that them being simple will be very important too, like when we start talking about like Lightning Network and stuff, like, I don't know, man, it's just, I'm still kind of learning this, but most of it's getting pretty easy. But when we start talking about like different Lightning Network and stuff, it adds an extra layer to it that is a little bit beyond me at this point. So like the old standard we like to say, when it's so easy that grandma can use it, that's a ways down the road when we're dealing with extra layers. A lot of the simple wallets I use for BCH or whatever, they're simple. They were surprisingly simple. I was very intimidated to get into it, and now that I have, like, it's simple. I have like old folks who are friends of mine. I'm talking about, like, no, let me get you set up with crypto, because they know that fiat, they know that that USD is garbage. They know they're losing money, with all their savings and stuff. So, I'm excited to share that with people, and I think I can teach someone who's 70, to use BCH. I think it's in enough places. There's enough apps that work with it. There's enough simple apps that work with it, and yeah, I really like it in that regard.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with all that. Yeah, you don't have to like worry about, oh, well, you're going to want a cheap fee. So you're going to want this one certain wallet. And, when you take your first transaction to open up a channel, and it's just like, I don't know. Somebody on Twitter was like, yeah, open up a Lightning wallet and I'll show you. And I mean, it was pretty simple, but there was like a little there was something that I haven't seen before. But yeah, for the most part, it was pretty simple. But like, again, like my concern, even though the fees were 10 cents, and personally, I think 10 cents is too high, especially if we're talking about extremely poor countries. Like, I want to onboard as many people as possible. So yeah, I want all the poor people to use it. Like, more users mean that there's more demand for the crypto. So
I've got a question. Maybe you can answer this, or maybe you can't. Why? Okay, are fees on transactions, are they like, it's like an average price? Do they correspond to like the amount that you're sending, or is it like if I'm sending $1, it's 10 cents, or if I'm sending $20, it's 10 cents?
I mean, I can't say this for all cryptos, but for like Bitcoin Cash, like if you send like $1 million, it should be around that tenth of a penny.
Okay, it's still the same price, because
if you send $5, it'll still be at that tenth of a penny.
Because that's significant. Because if we're talking like the way credit cards work, we're like, okay, it's like 2% of like a purchase. You know what I mean? It's basically the same across the spectrum. Where if it's something where it's like 10 cents a purchase, let's say that's standard, it's just 10 cents a purchase, right, or a transaction, that could either be a very good rate or a very bad rate, right, depending on the amount of the purchase. If you're buying something that costs 25 cents, 10-cent transaction fee is a lot. If you're buying something that costs $8,000, 10 cents transaction fee is basically nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So then that goes back to, again, if we're talking about, people in poor parts of the world, then that really makes a big difference. Whereas, and I don't know if it's something people could work into something else like a percentage, but at any rate, that does make a big difference though, depending on the type of purchase and how you're using it, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does make a difference. And, you want as many users as possible for anything. Like if you've got a website, you want as many people to come to that website as possible. You want to make it as easy as possible and as cheap as possible to onboard as many people as possible. And okay, so I guess my thing is like, I want to be able to do as much stuff with the coin as possible. So like, trying to send a small amount to another Lightning wallet is, I was playing around with it, and I'm just like, I don't know. And then you take your Bitcoin to an exchange, and you're going outside of Lightning Network back to on-chain and trying to switch it for another crypto, and then you get hit with those high fees again. So it's like, in my opinion, it's still limited. So
okay. So let's say we're somebody in in a poor part of the world. All right. And let's say that we're able to use, BCH. I mean, basically, it's like Sal talks about, become your own bank. They don't have access to a bank. So if somebody can just have access to a BCH wallet, then it's basically the same thing as having a bank account that they're in, pretty much complete control of. And, you wouldn't even need to own a computer, right? You wouldn't even need to visit the same computer twice to do your banking, right? Like, as long as they have that mnemonic, phrase memorized, right, they can bank from anywhere. So, is that, I guess what I'm getting at is that kind of what Sal's talking about when he says become your own bank. And of course you could be talking about more like, it's going to be a little different dynamic, let's say, here in the US than, let's say, like a third world country. But let's talk about like poor parts of the world. Would that basically be how you would become your own bank?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, the great thing is to get a crypto wallet, and a lot of these people, they can't even prove that they exist. They don't have birth certificates. They don't have.
You don't have an ID.
Yeah, I think it's like 3. I forget how. Like it's either a billion or, I forget how many billions of people don't have birth certificates. They don't have IDs. They can't prove that they even exist. And I forget how many billions of people that is, but I know it's at least a billion. And and so this gives them the ability, and the people that can't prove that they exist, they're usually like really dirt poor. So this gives them the ability to be their own bank. Essentially, they can open up a wallet without ID that they don't have, and it takes like 2 seconds. No ID, no, you don't have to sign something. You don't have all these regulations. You just open up account, memorize your phase, your phrase or whatever, and you're good. And so I do think
really
I do think crypto. I do think crypto should be for everyone.
Otherwise they don't really have any way to store their wealth. Their only other options are livestock, or I'm just picturing like a Crown Royal bag with like some coins in it, that is then, stealable or whatever, so it's really like their only option to store wealth in some way that isn't physically attached to them, unless I'm missing something, I can't think of another way.
Yeah, you're right. And in terms of like being your own bank, if there is a problem with the government and the government wants to, there have been governments that have. Look at Greece. Look at Greece, right? Greece took their banks, like basically they did like a bail-in, and they like took half of the customer's money and said you can only take out like 100 or 2 out of an ATM a day, and then there's inflation. Everyone wanted to go to the banks, but they couldn't, and it was horrible. So stuff like this happens, and when you're your own bank, you're basically, and every drug dealer will tell you, if you cut out the middleman, you're going to save wealth, you're going to save value. So you're basically cutting out the middleman. Like a bank is just basically, okay, this bank is going to transfer this amount to that person's bank account. They're the intermediary. With crypto, you're cutting out that middleman, and you're saying, okay, I'm going to send my money directly to somebody else, and we don't need it's peer to peer. We don't need an intermediary. So there's that, and then when you hold your own keys to your crypto. And I don't recommend getting crypto do not get crypto through like Robinhood or PayPal, because you can't even take it. You can't even take it out of PayPal or out of Robinhood. But when you own your own keys, nobody can, if nobody else knows your keys, which hopefully they don't, they won't be able to take your money, whether it's a government or a bank or whoever. So it's, be your own bank. But
you hear stories all the time about people, like, you get arrested for something and then they freeze all your bank accounts and you can't even like afford to hire a lawyer because the government's holding your money, because they have, such connections to the banks, they can just do that. So, there's just, it's another great way to keep your wealth secret.
It's like that gym. It's like that
have access to it.
It's like with what just happened with that gym in New Jersey. The government, I don't know if I think it was like state or city. I don't know. I can't think of which one at the moment, but
I'm not familiar with the story.
Basically, okay, so you're not familiar with the story. Well, let me tell everybody real quick then. There's this gym that decided to stay open during COVID, and they didn't want to shut down. And so I think it was the governor. Anyways, basically the government told them, was like giving them fines, sending police in there, like, constantly, stuff like that. And they're like, no, like, this is unconstitutional. Like you can't do this. And so like they had all this money for like lawyer fees and stuff. They weren't even charging their customers. They're just like, the gym is free and open to all customers during COVID or whatever. We just want to help you guys out to stay healthy. And anyways, all the money in their bank account was like pretty much going towards lawyer fees so that they could stay open. And the government froze those accounts and took everything out. So now they couldn't do anything. So these Bitcoin Cash guys made a GoFundMe for Bitcoin Cash, and everyone's donating Bitcoin Cash to this gym. Let me look this up real quick. I think it's called like Attila Gym or something. Google.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Or let me use Presearch. Presearch is better. Attila Gym.
Take a sip from my Presearch coffee mug while you look that up.
Right.
I'm sorry, that joke never gets old. I love it.
Yeah, New Jersey Gym. Yeah, Tilly's Gym fined more than $130,000.
I thought it was in New Jersey where like the owners came and like kicked like the cops had barricaded the door and the owners came and like fucking kicked it in and just fucking opened the gym. I thought that was in New Jersey. I wonder if that's the same place.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same place, but these guys are awesome. I mean,
they got some sack on them. That's awesome.
Yeah, somebody does. I mean, everyone's just falling. Like, everyone's just like, okay, you can close down my business and make me wear a mask, and like,
I don't want people to look at me funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a good little slave, and it's just like, God, like, are we free men or not? Like, you guys always tell me this is the land of the free. You know, I don't see anything free about it. Especially when I visit other countries, I'm like, this country's way more freer. I don't know where I was going with that, but we do have
taking like a GoFundMe for Bitcoin Cash, right? Is that what we were talking about?
Oh, right. So, yeah, they had a GoFundMe for Bitcoin. Like, these Bitcoin Cash guys made a whole entire GoFundMe platform out of Bitcoin Cash. And I forget what the platform's called. Let me see if I can. I think it's like, let me see.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that they would do that. Or they make a new platform, you know, that's super cool.
Flipstarter, I think. Yeah, I think it's Flipstarter.
Flipstarter.
Let me double check that. Flipstarter. Let me go to Presearch. Flipstarter, Bitcoin Cash fundraising. Let me see. Yep.
Flipstarter.com or
Flipstarter.cash.
Oh, cool.
So there's that. And yeah, so we're gonna pause real quick for our other sponsor, Devault cryptocurrency. I really like their cold staking feature. You can cold stake for rewards.
Kind of like a savings account in a bank or something, right?
Yeah. Savings account in a bank, but nobody's touching except for you. It's all non-custodial. So you don't need anybody. Nobody else is holding it for you and giving you interest. It's all within your own wallet, all within your own keys. Their Devault Core wallet is so easy to use, super user friendly. The guys over there they did an immaculate job, and especially with their wallet, with their cold staking feature, I was able to cold stake in like 2 seconds, and I'm like, that was super easy. But yeah, Devault cryptocurrency, they're working on like DeFi right now. What else are they working on? They're working on privacy through Terraform, and you know, it's such a small cap coin that it's like, man, like, you know, I wonder where this thing's gonna go. Let me get the exact market cap now. Again, like, it's never financial advice. Like, I don't want responsibility for any of the financial advice. Like, do all your own research. But
they're definitely a good bunch of guys over there. We've had Decentralized on several times. On the show to speak with us. Yeah, he's super cool. So they're definitely a good bunch of dudes over there, or ladies, or whatever. I don't know.
Market cap today is around 500,000. So, you know, really small cap coin, under $1 million. I definitely think it's worth looking at. So I'm not saying buy it, but I'm just saying that it's worth looking at. And yeah, I really like what they're bringing to the space, especially with you know how little resources they have. They're very innovative group. So with that said, we'll get back to it. And so, what else did you want to talk about, Dag?
Well, I think that we definitely, I don't know if we talked about this yet, but we should definitely bring up privacy for like BCH versus, we don't even have to mention the other ones, but you know, versus other coins. Why is BCH so good for privacy? So first, I'd say that there's several privacy coins out there. However, of course, one that's usable is a big plus. And since BCH is used all over, why should we look at that for privacy?
Yeah, so another property of money is fungibility. With fungibility, if a coin, like a gold coin's fungible, it's exactly the same as the other gold coin. Like 1 ounce of gold in this gold coin is exactly the same as that gold coin. You can switch them and still have the same amount of value, right? So basically, no two coins are
different.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same, but I'm like, no, that's not right.
Started that phrase off backwards.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, I'm glad you caught me. Dad catches me sometimes, but yeah, all coins are both coins are the same essentially with fungibility. So why that's important is because you know, if one coin has like more bronze in it than gold, and like I think the Egyptians started using gold, right? And they would like estimate, they'd have these gold nuggets, but like no two gold nuggets were like the same size or weight. So they used gold for transactions, but it wasn't money because it wasn't fungible, because no two gold nuggets were the same. I guess people after a while started to like, you know, realize like that gold nugget was probably, you know, not big enough for what I'm trying to sell, or, you know, or whatever. So, you know, it made transactions, and it kind of held down transactions in the market, right? But Greece is the country that first made gold money, and that's because they minted the gold coins so that they are exactly the same. So the same, you know, one gold coin in my pocket was the same as the gold coin in your pocket. There was no difference in metals, nothing. So like if I had a gold coin and Dag had a gold coin and we swapped, it would still be, you know, pretty much it'd be the same value. So
it's not like they each have an individual serial number or anything weird like that.
Yeah, right. This was important because you knew exactly how much something would cost. Like with the Egyptians with gold nuggets, it was like, yeah, I don't know if that nugget's big enough. Maybe that nugget's too small. Like, you know, you didn't know, right? So it made, or maybe that nugget's like not pure enough, or like whatever. So, but with minted coins, gold became money, and which was extremely important. Now when you compare that to crypto, you have some Bitcoin that are what they call tainted, or like that coin has taint, and that's because maybe that coin was in some kind of dark web transaction, or you know, some kind of like heinous violent crime, or, you know, whatever, or maybe just like a victimless crime that the government hates, or, you know, whatever. So, and when Bitcoin's tainted or has taint, you know, cryptocurrency exchanges won't take it, all this other stuff. So that's why
it's just traceable, you know, from wallet to wallet.
Yeah,
you know, and it gives them a cause to look at that too. So if you end up with this thing, or this fraction of this thing, or however you'd say it, fraction of this coin, you know, it's almost like you're guilty by association, right? Because how did you get this coin? Are you doing business with nefarious people? You know, a lot of questions could be brought up, and of course you could have nothing to do with that. It's just, you know, the way it goes, and of course you shouldn't be related to things you have nothing to do with. So, you know, so it's very important in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And so and I agree 100%. Like, you cannot have cryptocurrency really cannot be fungible unless it has some kind of privacy. Because if you can trace every single coin, you can be like, well, you know, that coin was used for XYZ. So, so what are you doing with it? You know, maybe nobody accepts that coin or whatnot. But if it's private, you don't have that problem. And like my Monero is the same as Dag's Monero. It's the same thing, right? So, and fungibility is a property of money. It's extremely important. And so crypto has to be private to be fungible. So that's why I absolutely believe in privacy and love privacy coins. But with so Bitcoin Cash has privacy features that I believe in, like Cash Shuffle shuffles it, or not Cash Shuffle. The upgrade to Cash Shuffle, Cash Fusion, mixes it as much as there are like atoms in the, like more than there are atoms in the universe that we know of.
It's an insane way to think about that too. When you first told me that a while back, I was like, what? Oh, it's unfathomable, right?
Yeah. It's insane. And I don't think anybody's going to be able to like sit there and do like blockchain forensics on stuff that's been cash fusioned. So
let's clarify something real quick.
I do want to tell people this is very important. I do think that maybe quantum computing could figure that out. So just keep that in mind, that that tech could get better, and these really advanced quantum computers could figure those things out. But hopefully by then we've got other privacy features. I want to see more privacy added to Bitcoin Cash. Sorry, go ahead, Dag.
Oh, you good. I was like, well, what you were saying about like the advanced, computing and stuff, like, yeah, that's always a possibility. But again, that's just more the reason to use, like one of the reasons I say, especially people who are not doing illegal shit should use encrypted messaging, because tie those fucking computers up, make them work to see you send that text to your grandma. You know what I mean? Make them work for that shit. So, but at any rate, I just wanted to clarify that, that let's say you and I each have a Bitcoin.com wallet, which is also a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and I send you some Bitcoin Cash. Is that inherently private, or should people be taking a certain step to ensure that things are private, like using particular wallets or something like that?
I don't know if the Bitcoin wallet. I don't know if the Bitcoin.
That was actually a bad example because they're trying to make it to incorporate Cash Shuffle. I just don't think it has happened. So maybe that was a bad example of a wallet. But let's assume that it doesn't have Cash Shuffle built in. Bitcoin Cash is not inherently private. You want to use one of those coin swapping apps or something, correct?
Yeah. So Bitcoin.com was going to add Cash Shuffle to the Bitcoin.com wallet, but then they stopped partway through.
I think and Badger, I think, was supposed to.
I think they stopped partway through too. They're like, oh no, we don't want the Cash Shuffle. That's when Cash Fusion came out. They're like, okay, we don't want Cash Shuffle anymore, so we're going to stop development on that. We want Cash Fusion to the Bitcoin.com wallet. So I think they're working on it. I could be wrong. I haven't checked the Bitcoin.com wallet in a while, but I do know that there are a couple wallets that do have Cash Fusion. I think maybe Badger does now. Let me check.
I'm not sure on Badger. I do like the Badger wallet though. It's
Electron Cash. Cash does have a Cash Fusion wallet, and they've got.
That's the only one I know of for sure that has it on there. I do believe you have to turn it on. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah. So double check that, guys. But I believe that is the only one that I know of that just comes with it. And it probably should have this earlier, but
it should be default. The Cash Fusion wallet with Electron Cash, it should automatically be default. But how you can tell is you do like a transaction, and then you look at the let's say you do a transaction with yourself, just a small amount. You can look at that transaction number, and in Block Explorer or whatever, if it's like super complicated and there's like 8 different addresses with like 8 different amounts, that's how you know. You're like, I just sent one, and there's all this crazy stuff on there. That's how you know that it's working. So, and I think Electron Cash, they may have, I think their new wallet, it will show you if Electron Cash is active or not. I'm pretty sure. I can double check later, but
just so everybody knows, like a coin mixer is like, let's say me and like 100 other dudes like all threw like our like money in a big sack and like shuffled it all up, and then took the same amount like back out or paid with that, so none of us have the same coins we started with. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that's a gross oversimplification, but that's kind of how one of these things works, so that you're using your same amount, but they're not necessarily the coins that you started with. So that's sort of how this gets hidden.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's say that is a good analogy. Let's say that another thing I want to add to that is that not only helps with like, okay, it's all different coins now, but also you don't know how much they really spent. Like some guy could take out $10 and put it in the middle, when in reality, he's just sending $5 to that other guy. But it looks like he's taking out like one $1 bill and one $5 bill and, et cetera, right? And it's being mixed up with all these other dollar bills. And then all of a sudden it's like, you don't know like how much you don't know like how much went in and like how much went out and how much he's getting back, and like because it's shuffled like millions of times, you have to sit here and like, or I don't know how many atoms there are in the universe. Anyways, there's a
Are you sure you don't know? You don't have that on the top of your head, dude?
Yeah, I don't have that. Sorry, guys. I failed you this time.
Yeah, and anything like that confuses the algorithms and just makes it just impossible or more difficult to track. You know what I mean? Basically, what's going on like that. So, you know,
but you know,
it's good to do that. Keep them guessing.
Yeah, even if they do that, you know, then you can just cash shuffle again. Like,
yeah.
I think like I'm not gonna say like who, but a buddy of mine like sent Cash Fusion. He sent Bitcoin Cash Fusion to another Cash Fusion wallet, to another Cash Fusion wallet, and then he sent. Then he traded it out with Monero to a Cake wallet, and then with Monero he traded that Monero in that Cake wallet. He traded the Monero back for Bitcoin Cash, and then sent it to another Cash Fusion wallet, which sent it to another Cash Fusion wallet. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, so yeah, I mean, you know, if you do it like that, you've got plausible deniability all over the place.
Oh yeah.
I got hacked.
You know, I got hacked. Yeah, just make them work for it. I mean, for the most part, they're probably not after us, you know, particularly. But you know, all these big, what is it, Binance and Coinbase and all them, like they're the guys making the software to track this kind of shit. You know, and I'm sure they're doing it at the behest of government, probably to be allowed to operate. You know, but that stuff is out there, guys. So you know, just be aware. You know, for sure, and you know, anything you can do for a little bit of OPSEC and, you know, give yourself a little more privacy is definitely a plus. I guess I don't know how much more you had. We should probably get wrapping up here in a minute, but I definitely think we should talk about a couple things real quick. One, you know, let's say a secretive way or more secretive or more private way to purchase BCH, which fortunately BCH is very easy to get a hold of. You know, you can even get it on regular exchanges, you know, with KYC and above board and all that. So maybe we should talk about .local real quick or something like that. And then, I don't know, man, what do you think?
Yeah, sounds good. Were there any other properties we wanted to talk about? Okay. So before we get into that, I wanted to talk about unit of account real fast. Now, this is one of the properties,
the one that it doesn't make.
Yeah. So if you guys can go back and read my article, but unit of account is one of the properties that almost zero cryptos have right now. And that's because you don't go around saying how much Ethereum is that computer screen, right? So it's not really a unit of account yet. But I believe that once crypto has, you know, mass adoption and the price stabilizes, where the price isn't all over the place, it will make it easier to be a unit of account. And I think it will be. And we're already seeing the emergence of a unit of account kind of in Bitcoin with the use of the word Satoshis, like, you know, how, you know, this is, you know, send me 10 Satoshis or whatever. Right. So it is starting to become a unit of account with that word. And you could easily translate that over to Bitcoin Cash. You know, they've got
do we have a word like that for BCH? Or would we still just call them Satoshis, or would we call them something else?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. They've got the same amount of zeros at the end and everything. So, I mean, you could easily just say, oh, you know, that's however many Satoshis in Bitcoin Cash. But so I think it's very easy. You know, you could do that with Bitcoin Cash just as easily as Bitcoin. But yeah, I think Bitcoin Cash is exceeding Bitcoin in terms of a medium of exchange, because you know what? I can buy coffee with Bitcoin Cash. I wouldn't necessarily want to do that with Bitcoin, maybe on Lightning Network. But again, like, you know, I just don't have the adaptability. If I want to take it off chain, or if I want to bring it to an exchange, I'm going to get hit with a large fee. So,
yeah, fuck the bullshit. Just use BCH.
Yeah. I mean, again, and if BTC works for you guys, that's great. That's great. But
yeah, no. And if you have it, and if you hold it or invest, what the fuck ever. I mean, do your thing. And again, like we said, I like competing coins, to be honest. You know what I mean? For different uses or different whatever. Like, it doesn't bother me. So
yeah, I like competition, because competition, again, we're in the free market, and
that's how we discover better processes, better better products. So,
but again, if Bitcoin isn't working out for you, then or if there's something that you don't like about it, be open-minded, try something else, whether it's Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Monero, like Devault, Presearch, whatever, just give it a shot, $5, whatever. Not financial advice, but so where did we want to go after this?
Where would one pick up some BCH, or where would we recommend? I mean, obviously you can get it from any, centralized exchange, but we here at the Nexus don't recommend KYC.
Well, I'll let you take this one.
Exchanges.
I'll let you take this one, Dag, because I'm getting tired of my own voice here. So
I did just write an article about this too. So but yeah, so you can get them very easily from centralized exchanges, which if that's your thing, go for it. Just be aware, taxes, IRS, all that sort of stuff is aware of anything you do on there. Decentralized exchanges, you can get it as well, although you would have to have something to trade already. But my personal favorite for BCH, it's super easy, is the dot local exchange. What is it? Local.bitcoin.com, right? You can actually go on there and you can sort of do like P2P, peer-to-peer trades with people for BCH. And I mean, anything from bank transfer to meeting somebody in person to Cash App or Venmo or anything. So you just sort of people have listings on there, you find a price you like, you find some terms you like, and then the site holds it in escrow, so it's safe. I mean, do your due diligence, obviously. But yeah, basically, you make a deal with the person, you say, I want this, they say, all right, I want that. And then they put it in escrow, you put it in escrow, and then the site makes a swap for you. So it works out pretty well, but that way you're under the radar and you don't necessarily need to already have a crypto to trade in a decentralized exchange. So definitely a good way to look into. If you want a little more information on all that, I definitely encourage you to check out the article I wrote, which was Beginner's Guide to Crypto. That super imaginative title. It's on the Nexus, so you can check that out. And if you have any questions or need any help, feel free to holler at us. Check us out on the Keybase. Shoot me an email. What the fuck ever. We'll get you set up.
Yeah, well put. So what are the things that people have to look out on, like local.bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash?
Dude, all my experiences have been good. I don't know. Well, I mean, I know it's not a great answer, but I mean, every time I've fucking used it, everything's went great. I guess in some instances, on some of them, there might be some scammers out there, but I guess I don't know how to answer that, dude, because I've never had a problem. I don't really know how somebody would scam me on it, to be honest.
Yeah, so
I really don't know.
Yeah, so I think people are having issues selling it. That's where they get scammed, is when you're trying to sell it on there. That's why you see a lot. Yeah, that's why you see a lot of like ridiculous terms. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've had some on the BTC one where people are like, I want a photo of you with your ID holding a letter that states da 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 da, handwritten and dated, and I'm like, no.
You might as well just get it. Yeah, you might as well just get it from an exchange at that point. Like.
Exactly. Just giving some weirdo a copy of my ID. It's even worse than giving the government a copy of my ID in some instances. So like.
Well, I don't know about that.
So yeah, man.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, they make the IDs; they already have them. What can I say? But yeah, man. So I really don't. I'm not sure. I've never been a good scammer. Like some people are like, they're hustlers in the sense they're like good scammers and like they can talk people out of money. I'm not good at that. I'm a hustler in the sense that like I can run a business, So I really don't know. But I mean, I'm sure I know there's ways that people do it, but I don't know. Basically, the way I did it is the first time I bought from somebody in a $50 trade, it worked out well. So I just buy from that same person every time. And it just keeps working out for me. So
cool. Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like when you buy something from that person all the time, it's like, okay, we've got this. And Wendy McElroy talks about this in her book, The Satoshi Revolution, that when you trade, you're not, you're getting something of you're getting something that you want and they're getting something that they want, and both parties are happy. But there's a lot of things that people don't see when they trade, and that's that you don't see the trust that's built between the two parties and the goodwill that it creates. So, and I definitely recommend that book if you guys want to check it out, The Satoshi Revolution. It's all over Agorist Nexus, so you'll see it. It's like one of the featured ones.
Yeah, it's very awesome. It's free download, guys. No excuses.
Free download. You just got to type in your email address and they send it to your email. So, but yeah, great book. But yeah, it's nice to have somebody that you can constantly trade with and feel good about it. So with that said, was there anything else you want to go over?
No, it's probably a good time. My girl's teapot's going off in the other room. I don't know if it's coming through, but it is like whistling like crazy. I don't know why she's not getting it. So I should probably go check that out. So yeah, let's get out of here. I'm good. Did you have a quote ready or anything? I don't have one. I wasn't
There's
prepared
this
tonight.
quote by Satoshi Nakamoto that I want to read off here if I can. Okay, here it is. I found it. Okay. The existing Visa credit card network processes about 15 million internet purchases per day worldwide. Bitcoin can already scale much larger than that with existing hardware for a fraction of the cost. It never really hits a scale ceiling. Satoshi Nakamoto, 2010. Agorist Nexus out.